One of the things I'm doing with asymmetric investing is trying to find investment opportunities that have huge upside potential. 10x is always the bar that I use. Can a stock 10x over the next 10 years? And if that's possible, then it looks intriguing depending on what the price you're paying for that stock is. One company that I think has even more than 10x potential is General Motors. Yes, this is a stock that is very much out of favor in the market, but shares are actually up 33% over the past year, and the stock is only trading at 4 or 5 times earnings. A very, very cheap stock, a company that continues to generate free cash flow, but it's not the core business. It's not making vehicles, even making electric vehicles that I'm excited about. The 10x potential for General Motors stock is in Cruise. That's the company's autonomous driving company. Cruise was really scaling the business very quickly in 2023 when an accident caused them to shut things down in October. They are now back on the roads, now operating in 2 cities, in Phoenix and in Dallas. And now that they're already mapping and starting to do operations in both of those cities, we're going to start to see this company scale even more as Cruise improves its technology, proves out that technology with regulators, with users. I think we're going to see this become a disruptive ride-sharing company. We're going to move to a world where transportation is sold as a service with a company like Cruise. And it's Cruise, it's Waymo, it's Zoox who are leading the way. These are companies that are actually operating level 4 autonomy vehicles. It's not promising something in the future like Tesla is doing. These vehicles are on the road today. So I want to go through exactly what we know about Cruise today and what the potential is for this company. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. Go to fool.com/ASYM for their top 10 stocks to buy right now. First, let's cover exactly what Cruise is. Cruise is an autonomous vehicle company, and it's built to be a ride-sharing company. So this is one of their modified Chevy Bolt vehicles. You can see all this crazy equipment on the top. They're going to be modifying these vehicles for the foreseeable future, but it's actually the Cruise Origin, which I'll get to in just a second, that is ultimately going to be where the company is going to be driving its growth. But this is a ride-sharing service. This is not a technology that they're selling to other people. So a big distinction from a business model like Tesla's, where Tesla is trying to sell you a monthly subscription or an annual subscription for FSD, Cruise is saying, we're going to replace you even owning the vehicle in the first place. So they are now operating in Phoenix and Dallas. I'll get to some of those details in just a second. But the mission is to scale this driverless technology with these Cruise vehicles. Over the past 9 months or so, the company has gone through a lot of major changes, implementing new safety features, a whole host of new leadership at the top of the company, working with local regulators. And that was actually after an accident that happened in San Francisco. Now, the strange thing about this accident was it was not an accident that was Cruise's fault. It was actually a human driver who was at fault in that accident, but it was Cruise's safety responses, which actually made the situation worse, that caused the company to rethink things. And then the response with the regulators, Cruise was, I would say, not forthcoming, didn't exactly lay out exactly what happened in the way that you might like. So a lot of strange details in there, which I've covered in previous videos. But what GM and Cruise ended up doing was taking a step back and saying, okay, we're going to stop scaling this business, because they were planning on launching in about a dozen cities at that point. So we're going to pull back. We're going to rethink this business model, the technology. They restructured the business, laid off a lot of the people that were going to be involved in scaling. They said, hey, we're going to focus in a few cities, and we're going to scale in those cities first, actually build out a massive number of vehicles. That's the process that they're in right now. What they first started doing was driving in Phoenix. And what they do is they map the city with these drivers. So they have an actual driver who's driving around. The autonomous systems are not activated. And so they've been doing that for a little while in Phoenix. And they just announced that they are not only resuming autonomous driving in Phoenix, so this will be with a safety driver for the time being, but they're also starting to map the Dallas area as well. So now starting to scale in 2 cities. So once they map those cities, then we're going to get to the point where they're going to be able to be approved for commercial operations. That's the next step. That's the big step forward that Cruise will hopefully take by the end of this year, but potentially sometime in 2025. The ultimate goal is to launch this Cruise Origin vehicle. And this is something that they've delayed since the stoppage of operations in October 2023. So they're kind of putting that off for now. But eventually, they're going to be offering a full fleet of vehicles that are just going to be driving around and offering transportation as a service all over cities where they have operations. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. So this is really a very different business model than what Tesla is trying to implement, using people's vehicles as the actual vehicles that are providing supply to the fleet. But I think it's pretty clear what the potential business model for Cruise is, and Cruise is actually going to own those vehicles. They're going to be able to design custom vehicles that are going to be optimized for the exact use case. They're going to be able to use them for delivering food and other goods. I think this is going to open up a whole bunch of different opportunities for growth. But what's the potential from a financial perspective? I put some numbers together, and I did this in an article in 2023. But I said, if Cruise is operating in 250 cities a decade from now, they have 500 cars in each city, and each of those cars does 20 rides per day for $15. That would be $13.7 billion worth of revenue for Cruise, and potential operating profit at a 20% operating profit margin of $2.7 billion. That's a pretty good business. Now, given the rate that Cruise was already scaling, I think it's possible that they could get to 1,000 cities around the world a decade from now. If they have 1,000 cars in each city, which probably underestimates things, and this is based on Cruise's own estimations and based on the number of Ubers that we have in each city, so probably need more than 1,000 vehicles in a lot of major metropolitan areas. But if each of those vehicles did 30 rides per day and generated $18 in revenue, so that's pretty reasonable compared to what you pay for an Uber, and generated a 30% gross margin, now you get to a business that's nearly $200 billion per year in revenue and $60 billion per year in operating profit. Now, these are projections, these are guesses, but this is the great thing about investing in General Motors today. You are getting GM stock for 4 to 5 times earnings. The company is buying back 15 to 20% of all of its shares outstanding every single year at this point. Cruise's valuation is not even included in General Motors. Investors are giving it basically a negative valuation. So if the company lives up to any of these projections, if it's operating in 20 cities, if it's operating in 100 cities, that is all pure upside. And that's the great thing about GM stock, is that this is upside you don't have to pay for. And that's a phenomenal thing with asymmetric investing, is you get a company that's a value at a baseline, and you get the optionality and the growth potential for these new businesses without having to pay up for them. And that's why I love GM stock. I think it's a much better opportunity than Tesla, given the business model that Cruise has and given the valuation at about 1/10 of what Tesla is trading for. The upside for investors today is with GM, and I think this could easily 10x, maybe even more than that over the next decade. But what do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.